From the castle gates to bedtime tales, laughs on the road and the monorail meet up on Main Street. Oh, Epcot to raise a glass and clink, telling old trip stories over one more drink. DisDad intro, here we go, talking parks, kids, all the magic we know. DisDad intro, hit play, let's start the show. Hey, DisDad intro.
Welcome to the DisDad Intros, the show where we get to know the voices, stories, and Disney passions behind the DisDad Club. I'm your host, Justin West, fellow dad, Disney fan, and proud member of this incredible community of fathers who love their families and maybe just happen to love a good Dole Whip. Every episode, we'll sit down with a different DisDad to hear how Disney became part of their family story, from their first park memories to their favorite tips, traditions, and those special moments that keep the magic alive. So whether you're listening from Main Street, your minivan, or somewhere far beyond the berm, sit back and enjoy getting to know another one of our DisDad brothers. This is DisDad Intros. Let's meet today's guest, Joe Masters. How you doing today, Joe?
Good, you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm excited to be kicking off this podcast here, and who better to do it with than with you?
Sounds good. So let me go ahead and introduce myself real quick. My name is Joe Masters, one of the OG Diz Dads. I've been with the group for a very long time. Glad to be here. I think this is a great idea for introductions and overall introduction of people to the rest of the guys. Maybe you're new to the club. Maybe you've been around a while. Maybe you've been to a DDC. Maybe you've not. But this will be a great opportunity for you guys to get to know each other. If definitely your first time for a DDCC, you'll have a little bit of knowledge about the people you're going to be hanging out with.
Great. All right, Joe. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family situation, whatnot.
All right. So I'll start with the fact that I'm 55 years old. I was born in Daytona Beach, Florida, so I'm a native Floridian. I live in Orlando now, so I am almost inside the bubble. So I get to go to Disney quite frequently. One of the things of being around the Diz Dads for a long time is kind of made myself an ambassador, if you will. So I like doing meetups. I like coming to the parks when other people and other families are in town. We hang out, get a drink or so together, maybe just enjoy each time each other. I get to visit with the kids. One of the things Disney Uncle Joe does is he likes to buy Mickey Bar Treats or Mickey sandwiches if you're so inclined. That's not for Terry because, the stick is the way to go. But I just enjoy Disney in itself. I grew up obviously on the East Coast of Florida. My dad took me to Disney World the first time in 1975-ish time frame, a very long time ago. I remember very little about it, but I do remember being there. I remember walking on the wooden planks outside Country Bear. It's been a long journey of being able to come to Disney. My parents divorced when I was 7 years old, and my dad moved to Texas. And as I got into my high school years, I moved to Texas as well, to be with him and kind of get that guidance from my father about being a man and, growing up and going out into the world. So it was by the time I had kids and families and houses and cars and boats and jet skis and all the other, and then ended up in divorce. By the time I was financially able to take my daughter to Disney on a continuing basis was around 2013. And that was actually the year of the very first Diz Dads Convention. It wasn't called that in the beginning. It was basically just a meetup because there were a couple of guys that were running the marathon and they were challenging each other. Back in the day when there were forums, the Diz is still around. We just don't use it as much. But back in the day when there was forums, there was a lot of banter back and forth about who was going to beat who. And that would have been either Team Tim or Team Barry back in the day. But the whole bunch of us got together that year, showed up in Disney World to root these guys on. It was an amazing time, and everybody thought that, this was so fun, we should do it again. So by year three, we actually decided to call it a convention because telling people you go to Disney World to get drunk with your brothers is probably not a good selling point. We call it a convention. But yeah, so I'm not married anymore. But I do have a daughter who is 26 years old who happens to live in Florida with me now. She was born and bred a Texan, but she followed me down here the year after I moved down here. And then I have another half daughter, I call her, which is my daughter's older sister from her mother's previous marriage. But I take somewhat responsibility of making sure of raising her to who she is as well. Helped put her through college, bought her laptops to get through school, all that other stuff. I took her to school, took them home, was always there anytime I possibly could be, even after her mother and I split up. We have a very unique relationship where we get along outside the house. We couldn't get along in the house, but outside the house, we get along great. We were always side by side at all of the band concerts and plays and PTA meetings and all that stuff. We were very eye to eye about raising the kids, which I'm very thankful for that. Coincidentally, we just came back from a cruise with the whole family. Her mother and her husband, both girls, the grandbaby, and my daughter's boyfriend and myself were all on a cruise together as a family. And it was very amazing. I tell people it's the biggest blessing of my life after everything we've gone through as a family, for me to be able to share those moments with each other, with her most specifically when it comes time to, taking care of the girls or spending time with the girls. So
Nice.
outside of that, that's my family dynamic. Like I said, I live in a house here in Orlando, in a city actually called Winter Haven. So I'm just a little bit off the bubble. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Nice. So Joe, what do you do for a living?
So I worked for American International Group, which is a global insurance company. When people ask me what is my job, I tell them I play with cell phones for a living. So what that really means is I am the corporate mobile device administrator across the entire globe. I secure the data, make sure the data doesn't leak into untrusted or unmanaged spaces, so they're not uploading corporate secrets up into the cloud and things like that. It's not a real difficult job, but it's definitely one that requires constant attention because, as you know, Apple and Google and all of these manufacturers are constantly providing application updates, new features, and things you got to pay attention to because they'll slip in something that you're not aware of in an update, and then you got to make sure that you're controlling that new feature, again, to prevent data leakage in your company. Almost every company in the world nowadays probably has an MDM solution, which is mobile device management solution. But that's what I do. I tell people I play with cell phones for a living.
Awesome. So you already touched on this a little bit, but where you discovered, the Diz Dads, where did you first discover them?
So the previous job prior to my current one, I worked for JCPenney Corporate in Plano, Texas. I worked with a lady named Kathy Schmidt. Now, if you're familiar with people on the Diz, you might know her as Webmaster Kathy. I actually worked with her, and she's the one that introduced me to the Diz. She talked about this forum that all the Disney people go to, and they have all the knowledge information, all the sharing. There's the moms group and the dads group, and all the information you could possibly find is probably out there somewhere on the Diz. So I joined, I want to say it was 2005 timeframe when I joined the Diz, but I wasn't part of the Diz Dads group at that point. I was just on the Diz as a member, thanks to Kathy. And then at some point, I tripped over the family section and found this one blade that was called the DisDad. So I had to click on that and find out what that was all about. And that's when I saw, Randall and CJ and Paul and all these other names. Everybody has a screen name, a forum name on there, which is not typically your own. But just all these people chattering back and forth. So I jumped in and got involved. And that's when I discovered this whole Tim versus Barry thing coming up in 2013. So I want to say I joined the Diz Dads section, the forum part, somewhere around 2008, maybe 2009. I'm not sure. So I've been mostly lurking along the way. I had never done a meetup with any other dads prior to the first DDCC. So that's kind of how I heard about the Diz Dads, was through a coworker who happened to be the webmaster of the Diz.
Okay, great. Well, you mentioned that you were actually born in Florida. When's the first time you went to Disney?
So that would have been about 1975. I was either 5 or 6 years old. I remember my dad waking me up, maybe my mom, who knows, early hours of the morning, right? So from Jacksonville, my dad was stationed in the Navy at Jacksonville, Mayport Naval Base. So it was about a 3.5 hours drive from Jacksonville to Orlando. So we got up pretty early before sunrise and got on the road. But then, I remember Magic Kingdom was all I can remember because pretty much that's all that existed back then, obviously. We did do River Country one day. So I do remember going to River Country back when it existed, which is long and gone at this point. But that's my earliest memory of Disney World in itself. But I don't remember a whole lot because at 5 years old, 6 years old, those memories didn't hang on very well.
Sure, understandably. So then, have you loved Disney from a young age, or did your love for Disney come later in life?
Disney growing up was a mainstream on Sunday night TV. So a lot of people may remember The Wonderful World of Disney. You always got the old legacy Walt introductions, and Tinkerbell would come flying across the screen, and the World of Color type stuff showing, the castle during the intros. And there was always some sort of Disney show or Disney movie or trying to think what it was called. Anyway, things to do with the earth. Walt was very about conservation and things like that. So it was always an informative show on if it wasn't a movie. And we would watch that religiously every Sunday night. So that's really where my love of Disney came from. Like I said, I don't remember a whole lot from my first trip, but as I got older and my parents took me for summer vacation or whatever, that's when I started to learn more about and remember, the rides and the shows and all those things. For example, the Mission to Mars, I remember that being one of my favorites back in the day. You sat in a room and there was just this glass in the center of the floor that projected what looked like a rocket launch, and you were looking down at the earth as it disappeared off in the distance. So it was stuff like that was really fun. People Mover back in the day wasn't that exciting. It was just a sled that you rode around on a course with. But now that I'm much older, I absolutely appreciate putting your feet up and riding around on the People Mover. So it stood the test of time for me, for sure.
Awesome.
But yeah.
So what's your personal favorite memory of Disney?
Of all the times that I've gone, I'll have to say my personal favorite would have been somewhere around 98, I want to say. It had to have been before that, maybe 96. I actually took my mother to Disney. I rented what was then the Disney Institute Swiss Family Treehouse. And I went over to the golf course and rented a golf cart. And back in the day, they allowed you to travel across the golf course to the back end of downtown Disney, which everybody now knows as Disney Springs. But that vacation where I treated my mother to a trip, I paid for her, took her shopping on the golf cart over to the downtown Disney. She bought merchandise, and then I drove her back to the treehouse. She felt like she was living high on the hog, right? She had never experienced anything like that in her life. So that meant a lot to me to really be able to do that for her after obviously raising me and everything she did for me growing up.
Yeah, great. That sounds like, definitely one of those keystone events in your life there. So what's your favorite park?
At this point, again, I've got legacy with Magic Kingdom. I like Magic Kingdom for the aspect that I can go and sit on a park bench and look at all of the different smiles and faces and people who've been there a dozen times. And you can tell the difference of the people who've walked in for the very first time. The looks on the little kids' faces, the interactions, not only with the cast members, but the characters. It's just, that is to me the epitome of Disney magic. You see it in that park more than you see it anywhere else. As a second, I will go ahead and throw in Epcot, because Epcot is more of an adult style park, because you have all these places you can eat, you have different cuisines, visit different countries. They actually bring in people from those countries, so you get some of the good dialect and the accents and things like that. And then the ability to drink around the world with your brothers. That's what we have to look forward to DDCC. I won't say it's a drunken stupor, but we're going to have a good time.
For sure. Sure. And well, at this point, do you have a favorite ride?
That's a tough one. There's so many good rides. I know the most commoners of the modern day age are going to say something like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a very unique ride and is very great. But I'm going to hold back on to the People Mover, just to say there's no better way to relax. And like I say, watch people from above as it takes you through the back end of Tomorrowland, and just enjoy yourself and not run through the hustle and bustle of how do I get to the next ride? What's my next lightning lane, et cetera, et cetera. I just find that ride just to be so relaxing, even still today.
I can appreciate that. The older I get, the more I've been there, the more the ride itself doesn't matter as much, but just the experience that you're getting.
Exactly.
So I think you probably already alluded to it a little bit, but favorite food at Disney?
Well, the favorite place I love to eat at Disney is Teponetto in Epcot. I love the hibachi cooktop. I love the little show that they do while they're cooking. I love the fact that they sit you at a table with like 7 other people, and you get to meet people from different nationalities or different states, or, just overall in general, socializing. I'll say my second favorite is definitely Beer Garden, because of the same exact reason. They set you to a table full of people and you get to meet all these different people. Plus it's buffet, so you get to try a lot of good German food. You get the show with the band, and who doesn't love cheering a great pint of beer with a good tiki-taki, oi, oi, oi!
Good times, good times. So, if there's one thing you could change about Disney World or Disneyland, what would that be?
This one I read that question and I didn't really ponder it very well. It's hard to say. I think the thing that really I think we're all asking change for is the overall price return on investment, right? It's gotten so expensive. The hotels have gotten so expensive. Park tickets are expensive. And then they want to charge you for every lightning lane, which for all of us old people used to be free. Fast passes were free back in the day. So the thing I would want to bring into the fold in Disney is go back to what Walt created. Think about what Walt wanted when he designed Disneyland. I get that in the 1960s, a park ticket was like $2, whatever. Inflation cost, operational costs, staffing. When you're operating the largest entertainment venue in the world, you got a lot of people to pay and you got a lot of, merchandise that you've got to sell. I get why it's expensive to a degree, but Walt would have never wanted it to turn out that way. He wanted it to be affordable for families to, come and enjoy the magic.
Understandable. Yeah, that's something we all have to weigh nowadays. Well, you're local, Joe. How often do you find yourself in the park?
It varies. I'm there at least twice a month, I would say. I'm a member of a local Jeep club because a Jeep is my other hobby, if you will. So I'm part of a local Jeep club, and we're called the Disney Jeep Club of Florida. So we get together. There's several of us all with themed Jeeps. My Jeep happens to be themed after Monsters, Inc. Huge Sully on the hood and a Sully's face down the side of the Jeep. I've got friends who's got a Nemo Jeep. There's a Lotso Jeep. I mean, there's all these different characters people have themed their Jeeps after. And we try to meet up at least once a month, especially if somebody's birthday is during that month. So they want to meet up at Disney. We let them choose the park we go to that day. But outside of that, with several hundred Diz Dads in the group, somebody's down here almost all the time. And I do my best to try and meet up. Something about me that we haven't discussed is I've got horrible kidneys. My kidneys are shot. So I have to do dialysis, which dominates my time Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So outside of that, I try to get into the park as much as I can and meet up when I can. And sometimes the energy is just not there and I just sleep instead of go do activities, if you will. But I would say definitely 2 times a month on average. Like I said, I try to meet up when somebody's in town.
I can attest that you do a pretty good job of hosting this. So appreciate that. Well, Joe, some of these last questions are probably for somebody who not everybody knows as well as people do know you. You're one of the front facing guys in the group here. So let's just kind of open it up here and talk about DDCC. What you like to tell people about it, what you're looking forward to, and whatnot.
So the DDCC, Diz Dads Club Convention. Again, we call it a convention for sanity reasons, so people don't judge us. It's a great opportunity for brotherhood, fellowship, if you will. We support each other like through Facebook and various other things. I've met most everybody's kids at this point. When they do fundraisers back home, I try my best to send money to help support them, even if it's for a raffle or drawing that I can't benefit from. It's not about me, it's about the kids. So this is a chance for all the guys to get together and hang out, ride rides together. And then one day out of our Diz Dads Club Convention, we actually go volunteer at Give Kids the World. So that is our charity of choice, our benefactors of our fundraising every year. We do our best to try and raise as much money as possible. Our typical goal is to hit at least 6,000 because that's what Give Kids the World tells us is the minimum dollar amount it takes to host a family for a week. The beauty in that is that these families are getting wishes granted from like Make-A-Wish Foundation and various few others. These are kids that are in the hospital all the time, are critically ill, who may or may not have a future depending on how their illness, transpires. And this is their once in a lifetime trip to get away from the doctors and the hospitals and all that stuff. And Give Kids the World really does a great job at catering to those families. They get them from the airport. They provide them transportation. Disney donates 3 days worth of park tickets for the first 3 days of their stay or, whatever order they want to go to the parks in. I believe Universal offers up 2 tickets and I think SeaWorld offers 1. And then they're free to do whatever they choose on the last day or 2 of their wish, if you will. The park itself, the Give Kids the World Village, if you will, over in Kissimmee, has been populated, built out. There's individual homes, if you will, like little studios for families to stay in that they get to all to themselves. They bring in groceries, whatever, snacks. There's plenty of food on property. They cook breakfast for them every single morning. I believe on Wednesdays, I think they do like an ice cream breakfast. So the kids actually get their way, if you will, in this village. And then one of the things they get to do during their stay is sign their name on a star, and they get to be memorialized inside the wish castle, if you will, which is a very emotional room if you think about what's going on inside there. For some of those kids that got to put their star on the ceiling, they've never come back to see it. They'll never come back. Fortunate for us, we have one of the dads in the group, maybe more. We just don't know it yet. But at least one dad in the group whose daughter was a beneficiary of a wish and whose star is on the ceiling in that room. And she is very much still with us today and is a very amazing young lady. She's currently going to college at UConn, representing the baseball team, doing just amazing things. And it's just been a fun and enjoyable memory to vacation with this family over the years several times. There's been times when I brought my daughter down to Disney World the same week they were there just to hang out with them and vacation together as friends and family. So to watch these kids grow up, all of them, everybody's kids. Justin, you as well know, right? You come down here for your daughters for dance and various other things, and I'd meet up and hang out, and I'd buy Gwen another ice cream in a heartbeat, right?
Yep.
But yeah, so that's really our purpose, is not only to have fun, fellowship, and just enjoy each other, get to hang out a little bit. It's not, I will say, it's not 100% dads only. We don't have a rule for that, right? If you have to bring your family, if this is one trip out of the year that you can afford to come to Disney and you have to bring the family, bring them. We don't mind. There's no rule that says you can't, right? One of the things we always say when we were communicating about the DDCC is it's your vacation. You do it your way, right? We don't dictate how you travel, how long you stay, who you meet up with. We create the opportunities to have meetups and do things with some of the other dads. It's up to you to take the time to go do those things. For example, this past year, we did an amazing best ball golf tournament at one of the local putt-putt golf places. It was more of a greens tee, but had such an amazing time because everybody paired up. There were probably 4 or 5 people to a team. It was an amazing time. And the kids, the adults, whoever, that came along, everybody was allowed to play. Nobody's excluded. We obviously, with it being Disney, there's no restaurants really that you could go into that the kids are not allowed in, I think, with the exception of maybe Geo 82. But it's a family environment, and we welcome your family to come with you.
Yeah, for sure. I can echo Joe's words about give kids a world and what DDCC actually is for the guys in the group. And we're always open arms to more to come and join, because we enjoy it. We want other people to be able to enjoy it too.
Absolutely. And you think about, how do I spend my time at Disney? People come in and they put an agenda together and they feel like they got to accomplish the world, right? I've got to get all these rides inside of 8 hours. I've got to get a meal in. I've got to get a show in. I've got so much I want to do. I'm going to go. So you're not really on vacation. You're just changing your job. You're working very hard at having a good time. We're not that way typically. We are more about, we do a couple of ride meetups. So like, Pirates of the Caribbean, for example, is a must do. We do that every year. Some guys like to do it the very first ride they walk on property, but that's the Canadian in me that does that. But again, we create the opportunities for guys to meet up and hang out and socialize. We'll go to a bar like Dawa, for example, at Animal Kingdom. We've become very good friends, and he's actually a member of the club with one of the bartenders at Dawa in Animal Kingdom. So we always go there and have Bloody Marys opening in the morning, because they serve those Bloody Marys with a nice thick piece of bacon. And well, that's just the dad thing, right? Bacon.
Breakfast.
We've done this event, if you will, for 14 years. This year will be number 15. We try to make it a big one, right? We did DDCC 10 at Epcot at the Living Seas Lounge. We rented out the huge upper lounge area that's off limits to the public. It's not an open restaurant. It was a private space, and we had Disney cater the dinner. And then we did a presentation over photos from all the years that we could find of everybody that came to DDCC. We talked about all the dads that have passed away, because at our age, there are people who do pass away. And we try to memorialize those guys and let everybody know we remember them. The overall just aspect of enjoying each other's time during a big event like that. And during 15, we're planning on another big event where we're going to have everybody together in one big restaurant and try to put something together. I know Terry's working on some content, maybe even some handouts. We'll see how it goes. But my only thing is, if you can make one trip a year and these guys intrigue you, if what you're seeing on the Facebook group or maybe even the Diz still intrigues you, come check it out. Come hang out with us. Come enjoy your time. I promise you we won't ruin your vacation. So just come to the DDCC. That's all. It's my plug.
Great. Well, Joe, I want to thank you for being my inaugural guest on this new series podcast, Diz Dad Intros. I'm sure everybody will be excited to listen and hear the things that you've been able to tell us. And I look forward to meeting and interviewing many more dads in the weeks and months to come. So for that, I'm Justin West, and this has been DisDad Intros.
I'm Joe Masters. You guys have a great night.